The one that gets me is a question mark is the two guys Coach Johnson mentioned first, which was Draymond and Paul George.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I'm your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday, we have an NBA Future Hall of Fame debate, gambling in basketball, and a WNBA preview of the playoffs. With us today, we got our coach's coach, Alfred Johnson. We got our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. We got the one who got away, Danny Thompson, and our international correspondent, Francois. Coach Johnson, I'm going to start with you. Hall of Fame debates happen all over the place, but now I want to take a look at the current NBA players. Who do you think is a lock? Who do you think is somebody we should pay attention to? And who's kind of overrated to you? Go in any direction you want to.
Well, I mean, it's easy right now to say locks in terms of the older guys. I mean, Durant's a lock. LeBron's a lock. Curry's a lock. Those guys are locks. In terms of upward mobility, I think Ant-Man definitely is on course. I would love to say my guy Joel, if he can stay healthy. I mean, I love the big boy. But the thing to me is that the criteria has changed. It's changed. There, every time you turn around, they're talking about somebody's going to be a Hall of Famer, and that's not necessarily true. There are some guys who are super players. But again, the way they're moving, because it's hard to argue that Jayson Tatum, at the end of the day, will not be a Hall of Famer. As at one time, people talked about, say, Paul George. I don't think Paul George is a Hall of Famer. I don't. I don't think Draymond Green is a Hall of Famer. Just because he got rings, Robert Horry got rings. You know what I mean?
Love me some big game Bob.
Yes, I agree. And again, you need guys like him to win. That's what he did. But again, you're talking about the Hall of Fame, because there's some guys who still hasn't gotten in that, you could make a definite argument for in terms of longevity and what they did stat-wise. Yeah. But again, I'm going to go back. Durant, LeBron, Curry are locks.
Okay. Danny, what are you thinking, man? Because we have these conversations offline and on social media. What are you thinking about the current Hall of Fame, the current players that project to be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I'm with Coach Johnson first. I'll take the older guys out. So LeBron, Steph, Durant, Giannis, all of those guys who've been up there in longevity, who have the MVPs, the championships, the at least 8 or 9 All-NBA selections, whether it be first, second, or third team. Those guys are out the way. So I'm not talking about them. The one that gets me is a question mark is the two guys Coach Johnson mentioned first, which was Draymond and Paul George. Draymond will get in because of the 4 championships, the defensive team memberships, and the DPOY. So if we're going off accolades, he's getting in. I don't see it, but when you think about it, there are a lot of guys like him in the Hall of Fame already. Ben Wallace is one guy to mention. He didn't have a lot of All-Stars, but he had multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. So people can pencil Draymond in.
That's a great point.
Because at first I even thought, but I said, should Draymond get in? But then I looked at his defensive numbers, and I'm like, yeah, he'll probably get in. Paul George, he'll get in because of his All-NBA selections and his All-Star memberships. That's about it. And then again, most people, when they look at the Hall of Fame, they look at the accolades. They don't look at accolades and skill level.
All right.
So there's that gray area.
Okay, so Francois, I'm gonna go to you because you're gonna give us an international perspective because you look at basketball differently than we do, and I love that. What are you thinking about the future Hall of Fame debate?
On my point of view, to be an Hall of Fame, there's three main things that you need to have. First, on my point of view, you need to has been an NBA champion. On my point of view, it's not a big deal, but I think it's better if you win, if you won, and if you contribute to winning team. In the second, you need to has been maybe an All-Star or a MVP or MIP, whatever. And the third thing is I think you should have impact the game. When you talk about Stephen Curry, he changed the game, the way he plays, the way he shoot the three. When you think about LeBron James, he did the three, and also Kevin Durant. Now, for the other player, yeah, you see James Harden, he never won a championship, but he impact the game by the way he play isolation. And yeah, I agree with what Coach Alfred said. Those three, LeBron, KD, and Curry, there's no doubt about that. But for the other player, it is the case by case, and some should be in, some other, I think it is very earlier to say they have because they're still playing, and we have to wait what they are going to do by the end of their career. But I think that you have to impact the game. Even if you didn't win a championship, you need to impact the game by the way you play, by the way you deal with fan, with the value you bring to the league in an international perspective too. So that's what my point of view about what should be in another fan player.
All right, Robert, close us out. We have these debates over and over, but we really haven't talked about this generation of player. Who are you looking at?
It's for me, it's so hard. It's so hard to tell because you can look at current skill level, you can look at current achievements, and you can say, okay, that person is that guy's on track, right? But you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Jayson Tatum now, okay? He comes back. Is his game going to be changed because of tearing his Achilles? Is his game going to be fundamentally different? Is he going to have to make adjustments because of that? And if he does, how does that change his career path? And those are things we don't know. Victor Wembanyama. You want to talk about changing the game. That guy has the potential to change how the game is played. He also had blood clots in his right shoulder. And if those reoccur, what does that do? To take somebody who's a little bit older, Joel Embiid, with his skill set, there's no question the guy could be a Hall of Fame. He has Hall of Fame talent. He's also made of glass. And his right knee appears to be held together by a couple of pieces of masking tape. And so based on his current body of work, I would say no. Yeah. And that's really the difficult part with these guys. You have guys like Jokic. I mean, I don't think there's any question he's a Hall of Famer. SGA, is he a Hall of Famer? He's got a championship now. It's still early for him. So these are fun conversations to have. And as you say all the time, they're no bum conversations.
Yeah, this is a no bum conversation.
Because I'm like, Draymond in the Hall of Fame? What? But
yeah,
it's they're fun to have. Mm-hmm. I don't put a whole lot of stock in the Hall of Fames because it's people voting them in, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, Coach Franchise, my tag team partner, and I, when we went through the NBA All 75 team, and yes, we went painstakingly through everyone. we started talking about the Hall of Very Good because there's some very good players that started to get into the Hall of Fame, and the bar in my eyes got lowered. So it's going to be interesting the next few years because the talking heads on TV, who are very loud, by the way, why are we so loud? They're gonna scream guys into the Hall of Fame, but as Francois said, what impact do you have on winning? So a guy like Harden is a stat guy. But again, when we go and Danny and I and Coach Johnson and I start picking our teams, how deep do we go before we get to his name? And that's kind of where I am with that. So in segment, we'll put a pin in it to use education speak. And in segment 2, we've got to talk about sports gambling and college and pro athletes on the basketball end. This is kicking me in the buttocks, and I got some really smart people here to help me get through it. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA SAFE Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student athlete success. I believe every student athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, here are the headlines that caught my eye this week in terms of gambling and basketball. 3 men's basketball players conspired in gambling scheme, and 13 players from 6 schools involved in gambling schemes. Robert, you are fond of reminding us, what did you think was going to happen? But when you hear story after story, even after all of the education in air quotes, how do we make sense of all of this?
Well, yeah, first of all, what did you think was going to happen? And we know, I mean, you can do a lot of digging, and it's not hard to find stories about online gambling addiction and young men. It's not hard to find that stuff. And we also know that historically, college basketball has been a target for gamblers. There have been point shaving scandals and all that stuff. I mean, throughout history. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily new. Okay. It is different because now with everybody online, that changes things. And the NCAA does what it can to fight it. I know that players are watching gambling videos and stuff. I can tell you that as a NCAA official, there's videos that I have to watch. Okay. And I don't play fantasy football. I don't get into March Madness pools because it's gambling, right? And you have the online gambling, you have the lure for potential easy money, even with the NIL money that some of these guys are getting. Now, if you look at the schools, okay, Fresno State, probably not a ton of NIL money. Eastern Michigan, Temple, New Orleans, North Carolina, A&T, Mississippi Valley State, probably not a ton of NIL money. The one the outlier is Arizona State. That one's interesting. But for the most part, there's probably not a lot of money involved in these guys. And I bet what they're thinking is that, okay, because this is a game that is not a Power 5 game, it'll be off the radar, and any more stuff like that is not. So I don't know what the NCAA is going to do. I don't know how schools do due diligence with these guys. They're ruining their careers, because if you're a professional, if you are an NBA team, G League team, even an overseas professional team, how do you look at one of these guys who's involved in these scandals and say, you know what, I'm sure that's not going to happen again? Because you can't have that. Not professional level. So there's a whole lot of stuff here, and we're going to keep seeing it. I don't know how we keep this from happening.
All right, Coach Johnson, you are still coaching, and we're envious of you. I am sure there's some compliance videos. I'm sure all types of things are happening. Talk to me from your lens about when you see these types of things, what comes to mind, sir?
Well, again, I'm also the assistant AD for compliance. So I meet with all the student athletes. This is one of the biggest things we talk about. These clippings that come across, I copy them and I send them to all my head coaches. Please talk with your team about this. What comes to my mind is, one, it is extremely selfish, because you've now put your coaching staff's jobs in jeopardy. You've put the reputation of the school in jeopardy, and so forth. If I'm correct, the 3 young men that were at Temple all went to different schools, and now they're off the teams and being put out of school. I'm lost when I hear Mississippi Valley, North Carolina A&T. It's amazing to me, what are these kids thinking about? The other schools as well. These kids, like Robert said, they have ruined their careers. And this is a taint that will stay with them. They will be known for a guy who threw games gambling. Like Robert, I'm like you. I've never done fantasy football. I don't get into March Madness pools. I don't do none of that because I'm scared of it. I'm scared of what the consequences are. So, I watch games from afar. I hear people talk about this and that and everything. These pools, I don't get involved. I try to really drive home the point to our student athletes. Do not get involved with this. You cannot. There's forms they sign saying they are aware of this. And again, at that level, of the Division I schools, like I heard one kid at one of the schools say he didn't bet on his team to lose, he betted on his own stats.
That's the Pete Rose line.
Exactly right. You can't do even that. You cannot do. And again, yes, they got NIL money, but everybody's not getting the same. Some guys want more. That's why you in college to get a degree. That'll get you more when you graduate. Get a job.
All right. So Danny, you're the player. You played here. You've played internationally. I don't know if you do things strictly for entertainment purposes only, as we will close the segment and talk about. But when you see this, what are you thinking about, sir?
Well, from a player's perspective, for starters, I'm with Coach. I'm with Robert. I don't gamble. I have an old saying. I like to keep my money in my pocket. So that's never going to happen with me. I do things strictly just for the fun of it. But I will say this from a player's perspective, it puts everything for you into focus what you're throwing away.
Yes.
Because the first thing that came to mind, as soon as he saw gambling, I thought 1951 and 1961. I'm a history guy. So from a player's perspective, first person I thought it was Connie Hawkins. Connie Hawkins got caught up in that point shaving scandal and got expelled from Iowa. And his pro chances was destroyed for years because of it. Now, eventually, he was able to get in, won his lawsuit, got into the league. I was ecstatic because now we know the whole story behind it. But from that standpoint, that point shaving scandal ruined his college career. He was expelled soon as his name came up. He was gone from Iowa. Same with Roger Brown. So as a player, I don't understand why you would want to get involved with something like this because you are putting so much at risk. It's not just from your individual career perspective. There's an opportunity your team's season might be gone and wiped out of the record books for good. There's a chance your coach could be gone, as we've seen from coaches in the past. What's the phrase? Lack of institutional control. So you're putting coaches in jeopardy. You're putting your teammates in jeopardy because what if y'all win? Let's just say, for instance, you're a mid-major school. Let's look at North Carolina A&T, for instance. You win your conference, regular season and conference tournament. You go to the tournament, have your best run in a tournament in school's history, but you get caught up in this, and now that season's gone. So I don't understand the player's mindset. I get the money aspect of it because money is different from when I played. I say all the time, I wish I played in this era because I have way more money coming out of college. But there's too much at risk. There's too much at stake for a player to even think about getting involved in this. And I just don't understand it. It boggles my mind. And I just wish players had more of a history mindset of it and learned from the past. Because guys from those two past scandals I mentioned, will tell you it was a stupid move on your part.
Yeah. And fans can tell why I like Danny. Coach Francois, you're international, okay? Gambling's looked at probably differently there, but when you read about this, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I think gambling is winning basketball, because when I look at the fan perspective, you say, okay, you see a game and you never know now is the player playing at the best. Basketball is the ultimate meritocracy. And what people want to see when they see a basketball game, they want to see player play 100%, compete every time, fight. And when, they see, okay, some player come and they miss shot, but they do it just for the gambling. It's not good for not just NTA, but for the whole basketball industry because we have to keep in mind that basketball is the ultimate meritocracy. We want to see everybody compete each game each time it's possession and not just, you see an NTA game, you say, oh, they are not playing 100% because, about those things. So I'm very sad. It's not just a bad day for NTA, but it's a bad day for the basketball industry. And I think we have to take accountability of this situation and make sure that we fight at each position. I can do in my part, Coach Alfred coaching in NTA, doing in his part, Danny as a player, when he talk to other player, do it. Everybody has to do the job to make sure that gambling has less impact in the basketball today.
All right. And joining us, sneaking in, we appreciate this, our academic and athletic consultant for the CK Save Project, George Ockert, who is also a renowned athletic director in high school. George, when you see the headlines about gambling, and Robert tells us all of the time, what did you think was going to happen? How do you see it? Because you're around high school athletes daily.
I'm with Robert. Like, what do you think was going to happen? I mean, it has no regulation, so you can't, and especially when it's wide open now, and anybody can place bets on DraftKings, ESPN, and stuff like that. it's a slippery slope that no athlete should be involved in. Because I go back and Danny brought up some historical things in basketball. I'll bring up Pete Rose and that whole situation in baseball. When you don't, there's never a time to know when he or she or whoever the athlete is betting on their own team, and they're going to affect what happens in the outcome of the game. So it's something that I would hope an athlete would stay away from. But in this day and age, especially betting on your own sport in the league that you're playing in, it just throws a monkey wrench in everything. It's not a good look, and then there's no really way to prove who or what's doing it. I mean, Shohei Ohtani had to face this in baseball not too long ago, and he's still being bombarded about it. So it's just not a good look and not a good thing to be for you as an athlete to be involved in.
Yeah. To close, we talk on the show tongue in cheek about doing things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And here's why it's just entertainment for us. Man, my flat bets are $5 and everyone laughs because I'm not really doing anything. But from our lens, rules are rules and they're structures and they're not hidden. So once the boundaries have been set very clearly, I might add, then you go to measuring and monitoring and then helping. Gambling is like the only thing where they say, if you have a problem, you go get help. If my arm's broke, I go to the doctor, they set it, they put a cast on it. I got all of these things, and then my arm is fixed. But this is, I mean, for help, at the end of the commercial, for help, call this number. I'm not calling the number because I have a problem if I'm doing it. So please follow the structures, the guidelines, stay out of harm's way. And yeah, we just have to do a better job of education. And hopefully we can get past this. We probably won't. But in segment 3, we're going to talk about the WNBA playoffs. And I think Georgia's team made it. We'll talk about it when we get right back on the Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, the WNBA playoffs are here. Here are the 4 first-round matchups. Number 1 seed, Minnesota Lynx, taking on the just team of the year, in my opinion, the Golden State Valkyries. Well done organizing your team for the first year. The number 2 seed, Las Vegas Aces, they are past on fire, going against the Seattle Storm. 3, the Atlanta Dream are taking on the Caitlin Clarkless Indiana Fever. Ratings are still pretty decent, so we'll see what happens. And the Phoenix Mercury are taking on the New York Liberty in the 4-5 matchup. Coach Johnson, any predictions? Who do you think is going to take it all the way home this year in the WNBA playoffs?
I think the Aces is going to reclaim the championship. I do love what Minnesota's doing. I think Collier is, wow, what a year. 50, 40, 90. But again, I like the Aces. They're playing super, and they're playing with a purpose. I like the Aces to win the whole thing.
All right, Coach FD. I know you might be rooting for Seattle's subliminally, but who do you think is going to win the WNBA championship?
Yeah, I think Minnesota Lynx are in a very good position to win, because they are one of the best teams this season. But I'm a fan of the New York Liberty, so I wish them to be better for the time going to the playoffs.
All right, Danny just switched up, so I think we see what he's thinking about. Danny, what are you thinking?
No, I'm putting this up because I'm calling myself Nostradamus because I told everybody before the season got started they were making the playoffs. So I'm giving myself a pat on the back with this one. But no, I think it's the Aces this season. Asia's playing out of her mind. They're playing the best ball at the right moment. Don't be surprised if New York struggles with Phoenix. They struggled with them during the season. We were talking about the injury plate. We were talking about the injury history a couple episodes ago. And I just think Phoenix is coming in hot. But again, this is the Aces championship this season. I think they got it, but they got to get past whoever wins that 3-6 matchup. So we don't know how that's going to be, but I think the Aces got it this year.
All right, Ak. Your team didn't make it. I'm sorry. What do you think? The Sparks and Kelsey Plum, George's best favorite player. Who do you think's going to win WNBA championship, sir?
Yeah, Robert. Robert. You know I'm hurt with that one.
Yeah.
It took the Aces a while to get back together. It took them like more than half a season to get their act together after losing after trading Kelsey Plum because they had a nice rotation working. Everybody knew what was going on with them. I mean, they're coming in hot, but I still think last time I was on and we had that conversation. Minnesota, I still gotta they've been ruling the roost. They've been playing great basketball. They've been consistent. You go through the lulls of the season here at the end of the season, and they're still holding it down. So I gotta go with Minnesota right now. Let's see what happens. Even though the Aces are hot, I gotta go with Minnesota right now.
All right, Robert, close us out, sir. Who's going to win a WNBA championship?
Well, I've been saying it's going to be the Lynx all along, and I'm not going to change that. I will say that the prospect of having a 7-game series with the Lynx and the Aces, that could be pretty good. And because the Aces can certainly beat the Lynx 4 out of 7. I mean, there's no question about that, especially because they are playing so well right now. Playoffs is all about matchups. So, we'll see what it looks like. If I'm gonna assume that the top 4 seeds are gonna get through. Atlanta's had a really good year, and if they can take some steam out of the Aces, make them extend them a little bit, who knows?
Yeah. So teams will play best of 3 in the first round. So fans of the 76ers, like myself, when they lost that mini series to New Jersey the year after their title, I always worry about a best of 3 series. Second round, the semifinals will be best of 5. And in the new change, as Robert mentioned, it will be best of 7 to close out. So looking forward to it. So on behalf of our
hang on. We got to have an international basketball update, man.
Yeah,
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
tell me what happened with Eurobasket, Francois. It is all on you, sir.
Yeah, just to give you the last information, today it is the final against Turkey of Alperen Sengun playing for the Houston Rockets against Germany of Wagner and Dennis Schroeder. So it's going to be a big final, and I hope to give you more information next week about that.
Okay.
And you said Germany was going to win. That's what you said. Is that correct?
Yeah, I thought, Germany has a very good team. They won the last time the world champion. They have the same core, and they're playing very good basketball. So it's going to be an amazing final.
That's awesome, man. I thank you guys for reminding me of that. And championship is today, so that means, Francois, you got to make sure you're on next week to talk about it. I hope
Definitely, yes.
you can fit that in. Okay. Thanks, Robert. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. Also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.